Hi guys, it's Preston McElhenney from the Pigskin Parrot here. I just want to thank you guys so much for getting the channel to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for contributing and helping the channel grow. I'm going to add another thanks for you guys at the end of the video. But for now, thank you so much. I could have never done this without you. The road to 2,000 starts now. Enjoy the video.
And you're watching the Pigskin Parrot.
Football. We all love it. Maybe you're a diehard fan who goes to every game. Maybe you're a casual who only watches the Super Bowl every year. Maybe you just like tossing the pigskin around every Thanksgiving. And maybe you just want to play football with your friends during PE in middle school and the coach throws the balls out for people to fight over, only for a dude named Omar who's 3 feet taller than you to shove you out of the way and take the balls that actually hold air while you get stuck with the stupid one. The point is, football is pretty dang popular. So popular, in fact, that many leagues have come and gone trying to replicate the success of college football and the NFL. These leagues have tried numerous things to give themselves unique identities as selling points. Playing in the spring instead of the fall, marketing the league to other countries, or even putting emphasis on sex and violence. One league, however, has lasted way longer than the rest, multiple decades in fact. A league that challenged the status quo and decided to eventually invent its own sport in a way. A league that was surprisingly good with local markets, and even popular enough to get its own video game series from EA Sports. Of course, I'm talking about none other than the Arena Football League. Arena football is a form of gridiron football that is really different from the traditional game. For starters, the game is played on a 50-yard playing field as opposed to the traditional 100-yard one, making it about the size of a hockey rink. The field is encased by a barrier wall instead of the traditional sideline, which also has giant nets that stand behind the end zones with a small gap in between them serving as the goalpost. The game of arena football is played using an 8-man rule set. One of the biggest changes to the game is the addition of the rebound nets, a tool that is used to essentially keep the ball in play in various situations. Missed a field goal? Live ball. Overthrown a pass? Live ball. Kickoff flies past the end zone? Live ball. One of my favorite quirks of American football is how, because there are no sidelines, the only way a player can go out of bounds is if they're slammed over the wall by another person. What's even funny is that for the longest time there actually was a small sideline between the field and the wall, and in 2006 they just removed it. Another unique thing about arena football is how punts are just straight up banned because the field is so short, so on 4th and long situations, teams just kick field goals from end zone to end zone. Speaking of field goals, I mentioned previously how the gaps between the rebound nets are actually the goalposts, so kickers have to have pinhole accuracy to score on significantly skinnier gaps than those of traditional football. And that's basically what arena football is. So now that you got the gist out of the way, let's go back and take a look at one of the weirdest alternative football leagues ever created. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the AFL. People had experimented with indoor football and shorter playing fields for decades leading up to the AFL's existence, but nothing ever really stuck. The first man to bring success to this type of game is named Jim Foster, a former USFL and NFL executive. Inspiration for indoor football struck after watching an indoor soccer game. He started coming up with ideas for the game while the USFL was in operation in the 1980s. After the USFL folded in 1986, Foster saw an opportunity to create a demo season with 4 teams for his new sport for ESPN. The demo was wildly successful, and in 1988 the Arena Football League was renewed for a second season, this time with more teams. I'm not going to sit here and list every single team that was in the AFL because there are a lot of them and it feels like so many are being added and dropped every season, so we're just going to move forward. By 1990, Foster had patented the rules of arena football, essentially making the game unique to his name. But that didn't stop a ton of competitors from popping up out of nowhere, making minor changes to the league's rules in order to avoid lawsuits. The most famous of these was the World Indoor Football League, which actually had a ton of support from NFL veterans, coaches, and even Grammy-winning singer John Mellencamp. Unfortunately for that league, the AFL sued them and won, so they didn't get a single game off the ground. It was made clear that the Arena Football League was the definitive indoor football experience. The end of every season is highlighted by the big championship game, officially dubbed the Arena Bowl. Arena Bowl 1 took place in 1987 at the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, featuring the Denver Dynamite and the Pittsburgh Gladiators. The game had an impressive attendance of 13,332 people, with Football Hall of Famers Lee Corso and Bob Rathbun on the call. The AFL continued to have overwhelming success throughout the 1990s, even developing its own stars and signing major established ones. The most famous of these players being Kurt Warner, who played for the Iowa Barnstormers before going on and winning a Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams. The success of Warner in the league led to the creation of the AFL's first video game, titled Kurt Warner's Arena Football Unleashed for the PlayStation 1, made by Midway, the creators of Mortal Kombat. The league eventually got a television contract with NBC, and by the turn of the millennium got its own minor league system named AF2. The AFL was a surprisingly deep league for being considered alternative football. Major network television, a whole built-in feeder system, notable big-name supporters, it was pretty entertaining to watch, and by 2006 the league gave over its video game rights to EA freaking Sports, the guys behind Madden NFL, one of the biggest video game franchises on the market. Arena Football got 2 games on the PlayStation 2, both considered to be cult classics by football fans and gamers alike due to the arcadey-like gameplay that mimics the real-life sport. The games were also full of attitude, like the Blitz the League series, which helped stand out compared to Madden.
Yeah, baby! This is my world! This can't get out of here! Man, that's crazy!
Arena Football was popular in the 2000s, but in an ironic twist, the popularity ended up becoming too costly for the league's management. Player salaries and other expenses had just become too high for the league to be sustainable. Unable to come up with a solution, the team owners decided that there would not be a 2009 season, and the AFL had officially folded. The AF2 minor league system, however, was still alive and played its 2009 season as scheduled. Former AFL and current AF2 team owners decided to get together and plan out a way to start their own organization. The owners got together and created the AF1. Since plenty of the AFL assets were available for purchase in a bankruptcy auction, the AF1 used its funds to buy the former team names and logos back and even rebranded back to the Arena Football League. The AFL was set for a reboot in 2010, which saw decent success and renewed interest in the league. The reboot didn't last nearly as long as its predecessor, however, as the league folded in 2019 and filed for bankruptcy once again. Let's be real, however, even if they didn't file for bankruptcy, they probably would have ended up doing that in 2020 anyways, just like the XFL, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so I guess it really wasn't that big a deal. Also, like the XFL, the league was actually revived for a 3rd time after a new ownership group acquired all of the league's trademarks. The 3rd version of the AFL kicked off in 2024, and holy cow, what a disaster! The season didn't even conclude before 8 of the 16 teams folded due to a large variety of controversies. The 8 teams that somehow survived the nightmare that was the AFL 3.0 reformed under the AF1. You know, the name that the AF2 changed to back in 2009 but never actually used because they rebranded into the AFL for the 2010 season. You see why this is confusing? The AF1 is where the league currently sits. It's still in operation and had a successful season in 2025 with an expansion to 10 teams set for 2026. There's no telling where the future of the league will go from this point, but as far as things are considered, the spirit of the AFL still lives on after almost 40 years. So, funny story actually, I was in Ross a couple months ago and I found this sitting on the shelf. It was the only AFL football in the whole store and it was in an NCAA football box. What the heck could the story possibly be behind this thing? So, turns out, these are official game balls. Yeah, the AFL went bankrupt in 2024 and needed to make back some of its losses, so they sold the game balls to discount retail stores. This is a real AFL football that was just in an NCAA box because they were trying to recuperate their finances. What in the... I got this for $4. So, with the AFL officially operating under the AF1 name, it is worth noting that there are other indoor leagues that still exist and are trying to compete with the Arena Football League. Famously the indoor football league being one of these. I mean, does anyone remember the fan-controlled football league from a couple years ago? You know, that one random league where the fans control the plays that Johnny Manziel played in? Yeah, that was funny on Twitter for all of like 2 weeks, and then the league folded and everyone forgot about it. I mean, yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about. I mean, indoor football still exists everywhere, but the AFL was and will always be the standard for that type of thing. Thank you guys for watching another exciting episode of The Pigskin Parrot. I'm just as shocked as you guys are. I got 3 uploads done this month. Crazy, right? Well, guess what? They're going to keep coming. I have decided that I'm going to do 1 upload per week to kind of keep the channel growing and keep things steadily going. So you guys get to have that treat. A new video every week. Football content, college football, pro football, alternative football. You tell me what you want to see in the comment section below, and I will make those wishes come true. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have finally made it to 1,000 subscribers. What a milestone for the channel. 1,000. Thank you guys for making it possible. We're going to keep trying to grow and make it to 2,000, and the Pigskin Parrot is going to continue to grow. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Once again, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon next to the subscription button so you can get all of the Pigskin Parrot updates when they happen. My name is Preston McElhaney. Thank you guys so much for watching.
As long so when you throw a long pass, you got a touchdown instead of a long game. And the nets are going to come into play. This is a new facet of this game, which is completely new to football. Absolutely. The nets are live. You can throw the ball or kick it and catch it off the net and run back for a touchdown. Or the defensive team can recover it for a touchdown. That adds more points. So in a kicking game, theoretically, you can miss a field goal. And if you get downfield, you can cover it for a touchdown. We should see a lot of points going up on that board. Absolutely. There's no punts in this.